It's really amazing to me when I'm up late at night and nursing the baby that this concept that everyone goes through this, everyone has been through this, right? Like women since the beginning of time have been doing this.
Ignite your best life. Yoga is the spark.
Hello, my friends. Welcome back to the Yoga Hacks podcast. Today's podcast is a little different. I don't have a ton of hacks or even something super specific that I wanted to talk about other than just motherhood and what it's kind of been like for me being a new mom. I know that when I was embarking on this journey, I was really curious about what the other side looked like those first couple days, those first couple weeks. Obviously, when you give birth to a baby, you also give birth to yourself as a mother. It's a huge identity shift. And I just wanted to share my insights, and I'm sure some of you who are moms will just be like nodding along with me throughout this podcast if you choose to listen. But really, I designed this for people who were kind of like me, like maybe you're pregnant or maybe you're thinking about kids or if you want a family. And it's like, what does that look like on the other side of labor and delivery, which is what gets all the attention. And I had sort of three big insights I wanted to share, sort of what it feels like being on the other side of this whole journey. So a little bit of a different episode, but absolutely let me know if you like this style in the comments below. So the first thing I wanted to share was that I sort of thought I was going to have this massive, massive identity shift after I gave birth. You hear so often about women who turn and change their whole life around after having a baby. For example, maybe they quit their job or they decide to become a stay-at-home mom, or they realize all these other things they were doing don't matter and aren't important and they just want to be with their little one. Or maybe it sparks some huge change in the opposite direction. But I was expecting this massive, massive identity shift, I guess, that I wouldn't really feel the same anymore. Like I would feel different at like a cellular level. And what I wanted to share was that for me, that did not happen. That did not happen at all. Like I still feel completely like myself. Yes, I am now a mother and there's a lot of emotions and oh my gosh, love and sort of how I feel different. I'm going to talk about a little later with some of the other insights, but it wasn't this crazy identity shift that I think I was maybe anticipating. And actually that was really, really comforting for me because it's really scary when you've been sort of who you are your whole life and then everyone's telling you you might become someone completely different. And I think it really depends on the person. So I can't say that, this will be the case for you too. I think especially some women, depending if they don't really like their job or they're, not fulfilling their soul's mission at their current workplace, right? Like obviously once you have a kid, your priorities shift. And I think that is why so many women maybe leave the workforce or choose to stay at home. But for me, obviously I love my job so much. I've built sort of my dream scenario after lots and lots and lots of hard work, being able to put content out on YouTube and share yoga in a way that I love. So for me, like how I felt about my career and wanting to get up and work every day has not changed at all. And at the most fundamental level, I still feel completely like myself. Like I still want to wear the same types of clothes, do the same types of activities. I think when you're not a mom yet, you sort of look on the other side and you're like, am I going to all of a sudden, wear like mom clothes and, just sort of like morph into this other type of person and start like baking cookies 24/7. Like I'm not baking cookies. My baby can't even eat cookies yet. But hopefully the point is clear. Like I just feel exactly the same. And for me, that's comforting to know that that's an option, right? That you're not going to like become a different person, which is a really kind of scary, frightening concept. So I'll just say if you're really happy with where you are in your life right now, like you love your job or you love your routine in terms of how you work out, like obviously things are going to shift, but you're not going to likely become like a different human being after giving birth with a completely different personality and sense of fashion. At least that hasn't been my experience. And again, for me, that information is comforting if someone had told me that before this whole process. Okay, so I didn't wake up, push a baby out of me, and have a completely different personality. Super comforting. But here are the things that I think are different that I sort of wanted to muse on. One was just this sense of being insanely strong. And it's really cool and wonderful. And I think a lot of the times, especially if you do love your life the way it is pre-baby, you have a lot of fear that having a baby is going to, you think about the things it might take away, right? You're going to lose freedom, or even with this like amazing yoga mom group that I've been a part of through my pregnancy and after locally, like the number one thing so many women in the group shared was like this idea of lack of freedom, right? This huge responsibility, how much your life is going to change in terms of just your routine and the amount of flexibility you have in your schedule and the things you can pursue. The other big fear was people feeling isolated, being scared that they'd feel isolated at home with their baby, which obviously the group was a great antidote for. But I have this new sense of insane strength. And I think if, again, you're considering kids or you're kind of like weighing the pros and cons of having a family now or later or whatever it is, there's no right answers. But the thing that has really come across to me in these past few weeks with baby being a mother is this insane sense of power, serenity, and strength that I feel, because ultimately, and I don't think it has anything to do with like pushing the baby out of you and feeling strong from that, because women who have C-sections are rock stars too, right? I don't think it's about that. I think it's about not the physical act of birth, but having your child. It's your child's number one. And you just know at this cellular level that like if your baby needs you, you are going to do whatever it takes for your baby, whether you're tired, whether you're hungry, whether you're sleep deprived. If your baby needs you, you just know that you're going to be there for it. It's just this clear priority in your life that, again, instead of feeling, at least for me, limiting, it just makes me feel like connected to this sense of insane power, like unlimitless power, because how much you care and love your child is so huge. It's almost like you just have this vast, never-ending bowl of strength to draw from. Because even for me, getting up, in the middle of the night and all the things that, you're doing in the beginning, you're so exhausted. All it takes, for me at least, is one look at my child's eyes, and I'm just like so connected and feel so strong and resilient. It's really cool. So I think that's been for me a huge wake up and something that's so beautiful, and it makes me feel so much stronger than my old self. It doesn't feel limiting at all. Now, obviously, can I go to a yoga class right now? No. Can I even leave the house that much? No. So there is a lot of limitations on my schedule, but in terms of just an energetic quality of power, I've never felt stronger, ever. The next thing I wanted to share is that this whole process, while crazy and exhausting, and definitely you don't get a lot of sleep, but it's fun. I think that's something that people don't play up enough when you're about to have a baby. Like when I was pregnant in Amsterdam and in Europe, everyone I met was just like, you're never going to sleep again. And people just tend to really focus on how hard those first few months are when they talk to you. And again, I think all these people are well-intentioned, but what people don't mention or talk about that much is like, it's the most fun you're ever going to have in your life. Like getting to see your child and getting to see their expressions and, how he's looking around and learning about the world, and then getting to do that with the love of your life, hopefully your partner. It's so fun. I mean, it's literally the most fun my husband and I have ever had. I mean, we're just so joy-filled during this time. And I think, again, at least for me, well-intentioned people, they never talk about that side of it. They just talk about all the diapers and all the sleep deprivation and all the stuff that you need to buy, right? It's that kind of becomes the focus, and somehow the fact that this is actually so fun. It's fun. It's fun. If you're listening to this, because if I were listening to this before I'd had my baby, I'd be like, no, not sleeping does not sound like fun. Having a wailing, crying thing attached to my body, breastfeeding all the time does not sound fun, right? There's parts that are more and less fun, but it really is. It's so, so beautiful. So again, if you're not yet a mom and you're thinking about it, or you're pregnant, like, just know it's like when we got our dog, we were really stressed and we were asking the trainer all these questions and, should we do this? And are we allowed to do this? And ultimately the dog trainer said, your dog's there to enhance your life, not take away from your life, right? So, I recommend doing these things, and I recommend, he was crazy. He was like, cook all your dog's food from scratch and have them on like some vegan paleo diet and blah, blah, blah. Huge animal lover. But he was like, ultimately, the dog's there to make your life more fun, to enhance it, not to be this awful chore. And it's the same with your kids. It's the same with having a baby, right? The baby adds this huge, amazing dimension to your life and to your relationship with your partner. Really, it doesn't take anything away. It is just enhancing like crazy. Yes, your flexibility, right? What we talked about in terms of being able to go out and do things is taken away. But even that is not forever. It's just for a period. And that's something I think is also really important to keep in mind during this time, which is patience, which is something that I've never been my strong suit. And even just having patience in my own recovery process has been massively challenging. I mean, I want to get up and go run around and take the baby outside. And all of a sudden, there's my healing. I have stitches, right? I need to take it slow. When we take the baby out too much, I feel like maybe he's a little overstimulated. It's a huge practice in having to say, okay, I'm going to wait. I'm going to wait to go outside. I'm going to wait to, kind of pick up my old life where it left off. It's so hard to stay in bed, at least for me. It's the hardest thing. But that's the yoga, right? That's now my practice, is how do I stay in bed and how do I be okay with the fact that I'm not getting to work out, which is my favorite thing ever. I'm not getting to do long, sweaty yoga sessions because literally my pelvis can't handle it yet. I can do down dogs and simple things, but not lunges and warriors. Or I can, but afterwards I feel that it was too much, right? So that patience has definitely been challenging, way more than, the sleep deprivation or any of that, at least for me personally. And then the next big change that I feel having a baby has brought is just this big shift in priorities, which one of my friends mentioned this. But she said, after you have your baby, you just don't sweat the small stuff anymore in life. Like things when you didn't have a child that used to stress you out, right? Like maybe a report being late or, something going wrong with some paperwork or, just like little things. Once you have a child, like your priorities are just so different. Like everything is just small stuff compared to their health, their well-being. We had a little incident with Alex where we were really worried about his eyes. His eyes were really gunking up and we thought he might have a blocked tear duct or an infection. And it's like, that's the kind of thing that just takes over your life and your brain and you're just on high alert. When your baby's healthy, everything else that's going wrong in your life is sort of just like a blip on the radar. And honestly, this is really cool because instead of like when I think about all the things you obsess about as a single person or a non-child person, especially myself, it's really kind of amazing to just have something come in that's so much more important than everything else that you think is important. It really just gives you an additional sense of peace. And again, this is where I want to share because if you're like me before baby, I would be very skeptical and be like, oh no, the baby's going to add this huge layer of stress to my life because it's going to be more to do and more to take care of and another family member to take care of and all this stuff. But it's actually the reverse. I found it actually makes you less stressed because you just don't care about anything, any of that other stuff as much anymore. You just care about your baby being healthy and happy. And the good news is most babies are healthy and happy. So once that's on track, like everything else just doesn't seem like that big a deal anymore. So I think on the whole, you are more calm potentially and less stressed. All right, and the last thing that this journey into motherhood has brought up for me that I wanted to share was just this profound sense of interconnectedness with other women and other moms. It's really amazing to me when I'm up late at night and nursing the baby that this concept that everyone goes through this, everyone has been through this, right? Like women since the beginning of time have been doing this. And my mother did this with me, and your mother did this with you. And all the women that we see in the world who are mothers have gone through this. And it's so ordinary, but at the same time, extraordinary because it requires a lot of patience and kindness and love and getting up, you know, in the middle of the night and putting this little being before you, really putting its well-being before your own in many instances. And just this profound sense of connection with everyone who's walked this path. Like all of a sudden, just all the women I see, I'm just like, anyone who's had a child, you are a superhero. And again, this sense of connection with your own family. You know, my husband's mother, we were all these helpless infants, right? Like he was for her, I was for my mother, she was with my grandmother. We were all this completely just like helpless thing, this little creature that needed so much nurturing at one point. And it's so humbling, I think. And again, for me, I think it's just added this sense of interconnectedness is really the best word that we feel in meditation, that we feel, you know, being connected to something greater than ourselves. And I know when I'm breastfeeding or just with the baby, caretaking, you just have this same sense, I have anyway, of just being so amazed at the life process and how much all parents out there in the world put into taking care of their young, and how much your own parents did with you. And just again, to think that you were that same stage at some point and your mother was up late with you. I don't know. It just really blows my mind, and it's a really cool feeling. And I just don't think you get it until you're doing it yourself. So those are the big musings that I felt like I wanted to share. And again, I really wanted to share these because I was very apprehensive about motherhood. I was very scared. I was very nervous. I really loved my life before becoming a mom. The baby came a lot sooner than me and my husband were planning. So I had a lot of worries, concerns, and I wish I could have listened to a podcast like this back when I was first finding out I was pregnant, and of course throughout my pregnancy. And I definitely want to say that, you know, it's a huge personal choice whether to have kids or not. And I can't advocate for one or the other. I think it's a super personal decision. There's so many ways to live a fulfilling life. But I just know my experience has been so far that having a child has completely blown my socks off in terms of just how much fun it is, how beautiful it is. Again, this sense of strength and resilience that it's provided for me. And yes, there are a lot of limitations right now, but overall, I can see how clearly that the child enhances your life so much, makes it richer, more beautiful, more fulfilling. And yes, you do give up some things in the short run, like your freedom and your ability to go places whenever you want and schedule and travel. But I can kind of see that that's a short period that I'm giving that up, right? It's like when your kid's really little, obviously you can't do everything you were doing before, but on the whole, long term, that it's just a huge enhancement. And the short time period and some of the things you're giving up is just minuscule. It doesn't even matter compared to the light that a child brings into your life. So if you're considering having kids or wondering when to have kids, I hope this podcast was helpful for you. And if you're already a mom and you made it all the way to the very end, I am in awe of you for being a mother. And of course, would love any tips and insights you want to share. One of the biggest insights that people keep posting to me, I feel like on social media, is just to enjoy this time, to treasure every moment, that yoga is always going to be there, and to just really enjoy the time with the baby. And of course, I am doing that. But at the same time, as I said at the beginning of the episode, I still feel completely like myself. And it would be very disingenuous, I feel, if I just like gave up my meditation practice and my yoga practice and everything I love to do and share just because I had the baby. Obviously, things are looking different and the timing of things and the output is different. But on the whole, to me, it feels very important to stay true to myself, even throughout this time, and not get completely lost in baby land. But I know that's very personal and different for everyone. I think I really just want to be an example for my son of someone who loves life and loves what they do. And I want to emulate and be a role model in that way for him from day one. And of course, I'm giving him pretty much everything I got right now. And I know that things will balance out more and more as he gets older. So thank you so much, as always, for listening. I would love to hear your comments, insights, questions, anything in the comments below. And let me know if you like this style of episode, or there's other kind of topics like this that you'd love to have me cover that are, maybe not as yoga related, but I think it's all yoga related. Anyway, I would love requests for new episodes. And if you liked this format, sending you so much love. Make it to your mat. If you have children, gaze into their beautiful eyes today and just be so grateful. Thank you so much for being here, for listening, and I'm sending you so much love from my heart to yours. Namaste.
This episode was brought to you by Uplifted, Try Brett's membership community for people who want to enrich their life through yoga for free at brettlarkin.com/uplifted. Yoga obsessed? Join Brett for yoga teacher training at brettlarkin.com/train. And don't forget to give back. Like this podcast, leave a rating or review. Share this with someone you love.
Remember, now is the time to dedicate yourself to what matters most. From my heart to yours, namaste.